Have you ever wondered what series of events could possibly lead to a conflict as devastating as World War II? Today we're diving into the causes and triggers of this massive global conflict. It's a complex narrative with a web of interconnected factors, each playing a pivotal role. From political tensions to economic crises, from territorial disputes to ideological clashes, the road to World War II was paved with a myriad of triggers. In the next few minutes, we'll delve into the intricate web of causes and triggers that ignited the Second World War. Picture this. The year is 1919 and the Treaty of Versailles just got signed. In the grand, opulent halls of the Palace of Versailles, the world powers of the time inked their names onto a document, marking the end of the Great War, or as we now know it, World War I. But little did they know, this treaty was setting the stage for another, even more devastating conflict. The Treaty of Versailles was supposed to ensure peace. Instead, it planted the seeds for World War II. You see, the treaty placed the blame for the war squarely on Germany's shoulders, and with blame came punishment. Germany was hit with massive financial reparations. The numbers were staggering. The total came to 50 billion gold marks, a sum so enormous that it would take Germany until the end of the 20th century to pay it off. This financial burden crippled Germany's economy, causing hyperinflation that made the German mark virtually worthless. But the treaty didn't stop at financial penalties. Germany also suffered territorial losses. The treaty stripped Germany of about 13% of its home territory and all of its overseas colonies, leaving the country significantly smaller and weaker. And as if that weren't enough, the treaty severely restricted Germany's military. The German army was limited to a mere 100,000 men, with no tanks, no air force, and only 6 naval ships. To the proud and once mighty German nation, these restrictions were a deep humiliation. In essence, the Treaty of Versailles didn't just end a war, it sowed the seeds of resentment and anger in the heart of Germany. It was a peace treaty that didn't bring peace, but rather set the stage for another war. The German people, burdened with a crushed economy, lost territory, and a humiliated military, grew increasingly bitter and resentful. And into this mix of resentment and humiliation would step a man named Adolf Hitler, who would use these feelings to fuel his rise to power and ignite the spark of World War II. Germany, burdened and humiliated, was a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Fast forward to the 1920s and 1930s. A new political ideology takes root in Europe. The aftermath of World War I left Europe in economic disarray. Amid this chaos, 2 radical ideologies began to emerge: Fascism in Italy and Nazism in Germany. These movements capitalized on national resentment and economic hardship, promising stability, unity, and power in return for absolute loyalty. In Italy, Benito Mussolini and his National Fascist Party rose to power. Mussolini promised to restore Italy to its former glory, invoking a sense of national pride and unity. His charismatic speeches and propaganda machine successfully convinced many Italians that fascism was the antidote to their woes. Mussolini's regime was marked by authoritarian rule, aggressive nationalism, and an economy controlled by the state. The fascist party's grip on Italy was secure. Meanwhile, across the Alps in Germany, a similar scene was unfolding. The harsh conditions of the Treaty of Versailles had left Germany in a state of humiliation and economic distress. The Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, capitalized on this discontent. Hitler promised the German people a return to greatness, and like Mussolini, he used potent propaganda to spread his message. Hitler's ideology, known as Nazism, was characterized by extreme nationalism, racial purity, and totalitarian rule. By the mid-1930s, Hitler's Nazi Party had seized control of Germany. These ideologies, though different in their specifics, shared common themes. They both capitalized on national resentment, promising stability and power. They both demanded absolute loyalty, and they both used potent propaganda to spread their message. And crucially, they both led their nations into aggressive expansion, setting their sights on neighboring territories. In this way, fascism and Nazism were not just political ideologies. They were catalysts, igniting a flame that would soon engulf the world in war. The rise of these movements marked a pivotal turning point in history, a moment when old systems crumbled and new, dangerous powers took their place. With these radical ideologies gaining momentum, the stage was set for conflict. 1939. A year etched in history. Germany invades Poland. September 1st, 1939. A day that would forever change the course of human history. The German war machine, under the dark shadow of the swastika, rolls into Poland. The Second World War had begun. The invasion of Poland marked the introduction of a new kind of warfare, a brutal, rapid-fire onslaught known as Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. In less than a month, the Polish defenses were decimated, their forces scattered, and their cities captured. The world watched in stunned silence as Poland fell. The speed and ferocity of the German attack were unlike anything seen before. Blitzkrieg was more than just a military tactic. It was a psychological weapon, designed to shock and demoralize the enemy. The key to Blitzkrieg was speed and surprise. German forces would strike swiftly, bypassing enemy strongholds and cutting off their supply lines. They would then encircle the enemy, trapping them and forcing them to surrender. This was a far cry from the static trench warfare of the First World War. This was warfare in motion, warfare at lightning speed. The invasion of Poland was more than just a military victory for Germany. It was a demonstration of power, a show of force designed to intimidate the rest of Europe. Hitler had gambled, betting that Britain and France would not honor their commitments to Poland. He was right. The world watched, but did nothing. But the invasion of Poland was also a wake-up call. It shattered the illusion of peace that had prevailed since the end of the First World War. It forced the world to confront the reality of a new, dangerous Germany, a Germany bent on domination. The invasion of Poland was the spark that ignited the Second World War. It marked the beginning of a conflict that would last 6 long years, a conflict that would claim millions of lives and reshape the world. And just like that, the world was at war. So, what led to World War II? Let's take a moment to look back at the intricate web of causes and triggers that we've unraveled so far. The story begins with the Treaty of Versailles, a peace agreement that ended the First World War, but sowed the seeds of the Second. It left Germany burdened with crippling reparations and a sense of national humiliation, a fertile ground for resentment and anger to take root. Next, we saw the rise of fascism and Nazism, ideologies that thrived on this very resentment. Fascism in Italy under Mussolini sought to revive the country's past glory, while Nazism in Germany, under the charismatic leadership of Adolf Hitler, promised a return to national pride and prosperity. These ideologies, rooted in authoritarianism and ultranationalism, were not just a response to the Treaty of Versailles. They were a reaction to the economic and political instability of the interwar period. And then, of course, there's the invasion of Poland, the spark that ignited the powder keg. Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies, veiled under the notion of Lebensraum, or living space for the German people, led to the annexation of Austria and the Sudetenland, but it was the invasion of Poland, in direct violation of the Munich Agreement, that finally pushed Britain and France to declare war. These are the main threads of a much larger, complex tapestry. Behind each of these triggers are countless other factors: economic crises, political power plays, societal shifts, and individual decisions. Each played their part like dominoes in a line, triggering the next until the world was plunged into war. So what led to World War II? It wasn't one single event, or even a handful of them. It was a complex chain of triggers, each link as crucial as the next, that plunged the world into the most devastating conflict in human history.